Hi everyone, it's Kamau. Welcome back to my channel. Today is Father's Day and I've been doing a series of Father's Day special. This is part 2 of the 2020 Father's Day special. What I'm actually doing is I'm reading from one of my books entitled Mother, which is a collection of pieces about the family. So I'm picking out the Father's Day messages that I've written throughout the years, as well as pieces that have to do with masculinity, the male role in society, things like that, things that are relevant to Father's Day. So I'm continuing with the reading. I'm going to be reading from my laptop screen, therefore I will be taking my eyes off you while I read. I know you love when I focus on you, and I do love looking at you. But for now, please bear with me as I read from the screen. The title of this one is a weak man intimidated by a strong woman? A weak man may exhibit one or more of the following symptoms. He is a grown boy, fully formed physically, but emotionally undeveloped. He is not yet done with playing marbles, and this is his prime preoccupation. Females are marbles which he flicks here and there, never mind if they crack or bounce into each other. A weak man has a strong ego, but is not very confident at all. He needs constant external validation and reassurance. This comes mainly from tallying the number of women he is able to sleep with. He literally sits and counts them, and recounts them, and puts them into categories. Example, by race, size, occupation, and it makes him blissfully happy to recall that he has sampled at least one of each. He is often bisexual and effeminate, argumentative and petty, and very vindictive. He has no knowledge of self. He is a mama's boy to the core, but he despises women. A weak man is very often of the conviction that since he is God's gift to women, he is entitled to financial support by them. But he still feels threatened when these women surpass him in income and status. If he gets any children, it is usually relatively late in life and generally requires much prompting for him to offer them any kind of support. When people talk about the strong woman attitude or the angry black woman syndrome, they really aren't talking about the strong black woman at all. They may be talking about a confused, hurt, cobra-bitten, anaconda-strangled female who has encountered the player described above and is reeling and retaliating. A strong woman knows herself, her history, her place in the world, her ambitions, her duty to her people. She has a mind of her own, capable of independent thought, meaning that she may sometimes disagree with her man and she may respectfully defer. A strong woman is educated, not only in standard academics, but in personal development. She is widely read and can hold her own in discussions that span the spectrum of topical issues. A strong woman nurtures herself, her children, and her man. She does not feel belittled to do domestic chores, keeping her family clean, cozy, and fed. She can hold it together alone if need be, but she much prefers the company of her mate, her male mate, her counterpart. She will sit at his feet and listen to his counsel, and she will hold his hand and lead him too. She does everything to build him up physically, intellectually, emotionally, and she avoids anything that will tear him down. She commands and demands respect and honor, and she will not settle for less. This type of woman truly does intimidate a weak man. She truly, truly does. He feels naked and helpless in her presence. He can't run his game on her and he just does not know what to do. Now, I'm very pleased that I see a lot of men nowadays healing, going through the process of self-healing, making themselves, receptive to positive relationships. So they are preparing themselves emotionally, psychologically by going through that cleansing. I've seen a lot of men, particularly on my social media feed, who are declaring, I'm taking a break from relationships. I'm going through some soul searching. I'm healing myself. Because when a man is in a relationship and he has not healed, similarly for women too, but it's just that the women would traditionally more receptive to taking some time off to heal, whereas the man would think that he's just going to jump from one relationship to the next. And I do see a lot of brothers saying, listen, I'm taking some time off to heal myself from the abuse that I have gone through and the abuse that I have given, that I've meted out. So when you hear people talking about this strong black woman and as if she's something to be avoided, no, she's not. And I don't have an issue with the term strong black woman. I am a strong black woman, and very rightly so. And I need by my side a strong black man. And I'm very happy to see the brothers, preparing themselves for that role that they have, because many of the women have gone through the healing process and refuse to settle for the player that I just described in the passage, who will feel intimidated by her. He certainly will. But the man who has gone through that process and healed his wounds and searched himself and realized where he went wrong in the relationships prior and raised his own standards, he will not feel intimidated by the strong woman. He will not. He will stand by her side, and together they will build empires. The next piece I'm going to read, so I'm going to scroll down. Bear with me a second as I scroll down, because this is, the book has several other pieces on the family, right? Different issues relating to the family, as the name suggests, mother. That's me. Alright, so this piece, I'm going to read one now about my grandfather. My grandfather meant so much to me. He was such an integral part of my life. I can't stop talking about him. So this one is entitled Mornings Belonged to My Grandfather. Whenever I think of mornings, I think of my grandfather. When I say morning, I mean before day morning. Before any trace of light is seen in the eastern sky. When the roosters can still be heard and it still looks like night. And the street lights are still on, and you still feel kind of scared because ghosts and dogs and nighttime critters have not yet resigned their nocturnal haunts. That kind of morning, like this morning, I was out in the cool dark air gazing up at the stars, and who else would I remember but my grandfather? He was the king of my mornings. My grandfather was up while my father was fast asleep. My grandfather saw to it that I woke, got ready, ate, and then he marched me and my aunt up the hill in the wee hours of morning to get the wretched number 33 bus, which was the scourge of school days. While we waited for the bus, my grandfather would chat with his old friend, Kun, the street sweeper, whose job made him the first human being on the road most times. They would talk about old man things while we talked about children things, our voices piercing the darkness of morning. I have very fond memories of my grandfather. I actually call my grandfather Daddy, which is what everybody in the house called him. And the This is one of those precious memories of him waking us up in the wee hours before the sun even turned in its bed. the sun is, while the sun is still saying, you know what, let me get some more sleep. I'm not ready to stop dreaming. That's what the sun is saying when my grandfather woke us up to get ready for school. So he's very much in my heart still. Alright, so I'm gonna scroll down now to a piece about middle-aged men dying. I think I wrote this piece. There was a series of men, famous men, they were just dropping dead, you know, from heart attack, and they were in their like 40s. Yeah, and I said, wow, what's happening to the men? Young men dropping like flies. So I titled this piece exactly that. Middle-aged black men dying like flies. That's what I titled it. Some time ago, a man in my community came to me saying that he wanted to enroll his daughter into my CSEC classes. I had taught her several years before when she was at primary school. He committed to taking her, but then he just never returned. This sometimes happens, and it can be for any number of reasons. But with this man, I remember thinking to myself that he had copped out and that he was just not as committed as he was fronting. He never called back, and I never saw his daughter. So I saw the man this morning on my way to do my laps. At first, I didn't recognize him. I knew him to be a stocky, hearty man in his early 50s who did carpentry and so was fairly frisky. But this man whom I saw this morning was walking with a stick and was moving at the pace of a sloth, 1 inch per step. He had lost considerable weight and was frail. I had to look good to recognize him after he called to me. And then he explained that within that same time, when his daughter was supposed to start class, he had suffered a massive stroke, which had left him almost immobile. He was barely now able to walk on the road again by himself, and even with the minimal therapy from the public hospital, he was hardly getting on. His speech was also slurred, and it was sad when I remembered the robust fellow whom I had last seen. In addition to that, his daughter had found out that she was pregnant within that same time. She now has a toddler, and she herself is not yet a woman. And so you see, sometimes we make assumptions, and we just don't know what is happening in people's lives. I've been watching him every morning. It is heart-rending to see a man who was apparently hearty and hefty, now barely able to move 1 inch per step, leaning on a walking stick. I'm sure he feels terrible inside, seeing people step past with sprite. My brothers, please take care of your health. I've heard of so many men in their 40s and 50s dropping down from heart attacks and strokes. When I go to the field in the mornings to do my laps, for days on end, it's only women that I see. When the odd man does turn up, he does a couple laps and leaves while the women are doing 10, 15, 20 laps routinely. Yes, there are more men at the gym and at the dojo, but those are mainly guys in their late teens or early 20s or 30s. Once they hit the 40s, most men just let themselves go and exchange the six packs for 6 more inches of belly fat. Also, some jobs are heavily taxing on the nerves. Some men work with power drills, power saws, and other heavy-duty equipment that are rigorous on the muscles and eardrums, and I am sure over time have an accumulated degenerative effect on the nervous system. These are physically and mentally stressful jobs. Brothers, just be mindful and take adequate rest as needed and beneficial exercise. Of course, this goes hand in hand with a healthy diet. We need you guys to be around for us and the children and for yourselves. Right? So, yes, so that piece, I was really just so touched. I remember distinctly seeing several articles, one behind the other, with these men, you know. I think some of them were DJs. I remember some of them being DJs and some movie stars, 40s, 50s, and these are guys who, you know, they have the funds, they can take care of themselves, but they just don't. They don't eat healthy, they don't exercise, they don't, well, in my opinion, the healthy thoughts too, and the healthy associations, that's important. And they're just dying at such a young age. Heart attack at 40, you know, strokes at 40. And so I'm urging the men today on Father's Day and every day, take care of your health, especially those men, as the passage mentioned. Certain jobs that you do, the equipment that you use over time, it is degenerative. Those heavy, you know, those power tools that you men love so much because they make you feel, you know, that it makes you feel strong, red-blooded, you know. But these things have an effect on your nervous system. Particularly if you don't balance it off with healthy eating, healthy thinking, and exercise and getting fresh air and, you know, lifestyle. So you have to balance it up. I'm not saying leave your job. That might be your skill, you know, that's all you know to do. I'm not saying leave your job and put down your power tools that you love so much. But you have to find a way to balance it, to balance things. You have to find a way to release the stress. You have to find a way to allow the body to rest, allow the body to recuperate, to regenerate, and you'll be fine, because we need you. We need you guys to be here for us. We need you for the children, and we need you for you. We need to know that you are living to your full potential, you're enjoying your life, a healthy, long life. I wish that for you, my brothers, and I urge you to take care of yourselves so that you'll see many, many more Father's Day. So look out for part 3 of this Father's Day special 2020. There will be a part 3 and more than likely part 4. So look out for those as I continue to share with you from my book, Mother. Take care, and if you have not subscribed, you know you need to subscribe. You don't want to miss any of this good stuff, okay? Subscribe.